You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network.
Alright guys, and we're live on the Twitch and YouTube Nerd to Know Media. This is episode 63. Guys, welcome to the show. How's your week? Start with Bryn.
It was pretty good. Because it was bank holiday Monday, and because I worked the weekend, I only started working this week today. So it's been pretty good.
Nice. Keen?
Yeah, pretty good. We've been sort of just getting out as much as we can to the dog park with Prim because she is moving like a speeding bullet, and now she can actually race the dog to catch the ball.
Oh wow.
We could start putting bets on her.
Race
We
him.
have.
Race him. You need to get another one so you can race him. That's the big secret, and that's the trick.
Get on it, Keith.
Exactly. Get on it, kid. What are you doing?
Another dog or another Prim.
Don't worry about it.
Whichever one comes first.
That's a race in and of itself.
Katie, how are you doing?
I'm mostly good, but I'm at the point now where I don't know what time is anymore.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like my sleep schedule is non-existent, and podcasting is keeping me sane. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, you guys actually, you guys have a podcast in the work, and it's very good. I've actually really enjoyed it.
Yay!
So if you guys want to talk about that real quick before we bring in Kev.
Yeah, sure. We've got a new show coming out. It's called The Game Corner. It's going to be me chatting, first of all, with Katie in this week's episode, and then possibly new guests to the channel every week about the kind of games we've been playing while we're all locked in our homes and such. And Dara was kind enough to help edit, and the artist Keith Byrne has additional work. So that'll all be coming out over the next few days, and we're really excited to get started.
Cool. I've listened to it. Spoilers, it's very, very good. And I enjoyed it. Although I feel kind of bad because, like, whenever I listen to Lisa's podcast or like one that has structure, I'm like, we just talk crap and that's it on air. No, you guys actually do. You guys actually have all this work done, and here we're like, yeah, we're gonna talk about the Simpsons or whatever, and it's just kind of, I feel bad because like Lisa's like, yeah, I spent 4 hours doing the show. I'm like, you spent 4 hours doing the show? Why? You know, it's just.
Well, I mean, this is the flagship. This is kind of the let's talk about whatever show anyway.
That's fair. Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, and like because I've been planning this for a few weeks, and like I went to Lisa and I go, oh, like what's your process? And she gave me this like 13 message essay on how she structured, and I was, oh god, I'm out of my depth. Which is why it's been 5 weeks in development, because it's to get over that panic attack.
And you come here, it's like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Simpsons? Okay, cool. All right, let's go. Let's go. So yeah, no, you guys have the art done on that. So once the art is done, we'll kind of figure out a day for it to be posted. So I guess everybody just keep an eye on
it's being
media.
inked at the moment. I've checked in with them.
Very cool.
And Kev, how is your kind of brainstorming show coming along?
It's brainstorming.
It's coming. It's happening.
Over.
It's
Is
happening.
it 13 pages brainstorming?
It's brainstorming. I'll think about it more when Final Fantasy VII Remake lets me go.
I want those 13 pages, and I want them now, and pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah, before we get to
well,
the
now
Simpsons,
I have to go outside, Dara.
Everybody gets one. Remember? Just fling by. It's fine. But yeah, no, we have a lot going on the feed or the network now as it's slowly becoming. So yeah, if you guys are interested, go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com and all the shows. There's a lot now. So yeah, that's what we're kind of.
Oh, here actually, before we kind of get into this is the first time we're chatting since we did our first American appearance, right?
Yeah. So that was like I talked with the guys in Anime Lockdown Con, and they're saying that apparently that we can post our panel, but I want to kind of wait until they post it, and then we'll cross post it on the platforms. But yeah, that was super fun. Bryn, you missed out. You missed out on all the weeb goodness.
Yeah.
The chat was very entertaining. I have to say, Kev, your mate was hilarious. It was very hard to keep a straight face.
Craig's an interesting boy that wants me.
I'm pretty sure, like, I saw that they posted something on the page about lessons they learned, and there was a whole big paragraph about lewdness, and I'm like, that's just probably because of what was said on the chat. And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like,
Maybe I don't tell him about it next time.
your friend Craig now has like a rule named after him. Basically, I was reading through. I'm like, these are all the things he said.
Yeah. Thanks to
wouldn't be
me,
the
now
first
there's a
time.
warning.
Yeah, there's a warning. Exactly.
Rule number 6: don't be Craig.
Don't be Craig.
Listen, that's a rule I've been living my life by for the past 6 years, so like, it's a
Yeah.
good one to have on the books.
Sadly, I don't think there's a replay of the chat, but all I can say is it was graphic and we can't repeat it or we'll be kicked off the radio when this goes out in Phoenix. So,
There are
I
children
thought-
listening.
Oh, the chat was great, crack. Like, I love how people were chiming in with like all their recommendations and all
Everyone
their.
else
and,
in the
like,
chat was very pleasant.
yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
experience. I feel bad though because there's probably a lot of people now that have downloaded Doki Doki Literature Club because of our panel.
No, man, spread
Yeah,
the
and-
love. I'm feeling good about that.
We would just like to say in advance, we're so sorry.
no, that was
I'm saying you're
interesting
welcome.
about the panel because like it was. First of all, we spent the first half an hour recommending it, and then in the chat, people were like, "Oh, this," and we kind of had to go, "Well,
Well,
maybe
actually,
not." Like
Hold on, what we spoil.
it was a self-defeating panel.
And it was one of those things where we're like, hey, watch out. And then, but it was funny because everyone was kind of like, going after Katie, going, why don't you like visual novels? You guys hate visual novels. I'm like, no, I don't hate visual novels.
but you know what though? I felt like such a noob because I couldn't figure out how to actually open the chat box until like 20 minutes before the end. And by
Oh,
the
just
time
as well.
I had missed everything because the chat doesn't backlog; it just
No.
goes from when you open it.
Yeah.
So everyone was saying, "Oh, people are saying really nice things about you and like asking you questions," and they probably feel like I was just ignoring them because I'm such a noob.
But look, I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, when you do panels, the crowd interaction is like the main thing.
Mm.
But I think it was very good. Now we apologize for some of the echo and technical issues. Like this headset didn't even work, and I don't know why it didn't work. But I had to use the crappy one, and that But look, we did it. We managed to work it, and Bryn, you missed out.
I
really
had to
did.
drop out of that Discord call dozens of times.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Your
Like, I
little
had to keep
icon just
clicking
kind of blinked in
just
and out
because
of
like
existence.
my internet connection was having an absolute fit.
Wow.
Mm.
I don't know. I going to bed at like 2:30 in the morning was something I haven't done outside of watching wrestling in a while. So
Oh man, I didn't go to bed till like well after 4. I was
Oh,
just
same
I was
here.
wired.
you were riding that high for
Yeah,
a while.
I was just riding that high.
Yeah.
Heart a flutter.
Oh man, it was good crack. And I have to say, like, we managed to pull it together. Fair play for Kev for helping out. I kind of left it at the last minute and forgot that we had to do slides. And I was just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that needs to be done. Crap. But we got there. So yeah, we'll try to have it up soon. The interview with actually myself and Bryn did an interview with the dev of tech support Error Unknown there during the week, which is up on our YouTube
yeah.
channel, and that's going to go up on the feed soon. Then the panel will eventually go up on the feed. So there's a lot of backlog. But what I'd say,
Yeah,
if anyone,
and the John Paul Madison, that's up there now, yeah?
that should be up there, but it's not. It should be dropping tomorrow. But I say, look, the best place to get it is on the YouTube channel because that's where everything goes first.
On the tubes.
On the tubes.
If you're not streaming it there right now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so there's a lot coming, and we've been very busy. So I'm only one person. I can only do so much. So yeah, send your hate to Bryn. No. It's only because you're not on Facebook, and it's so difficult to contact you. He doesn't even deny it. He's like, no, I don't care.
I just wonder why I did it.
I was on the way. Exactly. Yeah. I know. I'm only playing. Not really though.
I bet he's still watching the chat. I bet Bryn is actually above our chat, like Homer above Flamin' Moe's, just like watching us going, "You fools!"
Just watching
It's
Waiting
cough
to give
syrup.
out a secret
Cough
ingredient.
Well, look, we've talked trash for 10 minutes, so let's actually get into the meat and potato of this, right? So initially, I was going to suggest we break this into 2 parts because I
Right.
really wanted to enjoy season 3 and talking about it because there's so much in it, and this is the first episode series of Simpsons that feels like the Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it actually has everything in it that you're like, yeah, this is why the Simpsons is great. Also, no less than 4 Stanley Kubrick references. There's 4. There's probably more.
Can you name them?
So the first one is the beginning of 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's like in one of the 30 episodes.
Yeah.
There is one from I think there's two from Clockwork Orange, but one I can remember is the Santa's Little Helper one.
Yeah,
really
the
good-
eyes open. Yeah.
Yeah. The most recent one I saw there is in the last episode with another 2001: A Space Odyssey reference, and that's with the couch where he goes through the tunnel.
Where he's
Uh,
going to the speed of light. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's another one which I cannot place, but I know it is in there. I think it's Citizen Kane one.
So
No,
Dara,
not
are
Citizen
you
Kane.
are
not
you
Stanley
watching The Simpsons like with a notepad?
Yeah, I said I was going to, and I did. Like, but
oh my
also-
god, I feel so bad. I literally just throw it on in the background and I'm like, yep, that's good, and let's go do something
Yeah,
else.
we watch it while we're like having breakfast or whatever. Like it's there's a fifth one actually in brackets right at the start of season 4. Bart dresses up like the main character from Clockwork Orange in the Treehouse of Horror.
yes.
Yeah.
From Alex the Large, but there is Alex the Launch. I don't know. Is it the Launch? I don't know. Anyway, someone correct me.
Yeah.
nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com. But no, seriously, I like usually what I do is I watch The Simpsons anyway as my chill down.
Hmm.
You know, if I'm doing something else, it's on in the background. So I actually actively watched it, and I'm like, this is so much better because I've already like 4 or 5 levels deep into this. But
Yeah, no, this time because like I had it like I kind of on and off watch it like paying attention this time. So I had a couple of episodes on while I was just reorganizing things in my room, just kind of half paying attention. But then the softball episode came up, and I had to just put down whatever thing I was moving. I'm like, this is too good to just not have to not
Yeah.
pay attention to.
I got halfway through it, well, more than halfway through it there last night, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to make it. So I stuck it on there before the show, and I started off at Colonel Homer. And I haven't seen like the end part of it in a while because, as I said, when I stick them on, I'd usually start at the beginning and then get halfway through before bed or whatever. But there's a really weak one just before like one of the best ones, which is Bart Friends Falls in Love. Not great. But then it has.
I gotta disagree. I love Homer building up his word vocabulary. That's one of my favorite jokes from when I was a kid.
I know. It has a really good one, but the actual overall story isn't that great.
It's got a great B plot for a weak A plot.
Yeah, but it does have
Okay.
flying nuns.
Yeah.
It has some really cool references that are just really weird. But the latter part as well also has like the auto show, which is one of my favorite episodes, and I totally forgot about it because of all the Spinal Tap references.
Mm.
Black Widower, which is fantastic. It actually is like super good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm jumping around a lot, guys. You talk first. Keen, what did you think?
Can we open with some controversy?
It's
Oh.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad I'm not the one who's saying it.
Well, I mean, I just want to get in there before you start. Like, it's I went to an episode list to refresh my memory before we started this podcast,
Yes.
and there was one called Stark Raving Dad. I was like, oh, I don't remember watching that one. Which one is it?
How do you forget that one?
They've cut the Michael Jackson one from Disney Plus.
They
Of course
did.
they have, because
I
they're
was-
because they're
say that. Well, I started it on. Is it Lisa Goes to Washington or whatever
Yeah.
it is? Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington, and I'm actually looking at the list here because like I've watched them, just to refresh which ones are which,
Yeah.
and I'm like, they didn't do the Michael Jackson one.
Yeah. Don't let guys. They've done this already. When it's on replays, you can't find it. That's why I'm saying, theoretically for educational purposes, go to your favorite theoretical website using your favorite theoretical browser, of course with a theoretical VPN, and get it, because you're not going to be able to get it any other way unless you buy it legitimately.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that one's ingrained in everyone's memories anyway, because they used to play it like almost
All the time.
non-stop,
Yeah.
Here's the
like
thing,
all
though,
the
right?
time.
But here's the thing, right? In hindsight, it's kind of creepy. But what's worse is Michael Jackson's actual video game, where his whole thing was to find kidnapped children in the Sega Mega Drive. That aged far worse.
Oh, hang on a second. It actually says it here. In the wake of renewed sexual abuse allegations against Jackson, the episode was removed from syndication.
Yeah, so you can't get it anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you
And
want
I want to what's the standard then? Because throughout this season, you had
Oh,
Homer reading a Bill Crosby book. You
Yeah,
had
like there's
See, that-
there's
see,
not
no,
there's not a
yeah.
hold up on it. It was
Yeah.
just that like I think the Cosby reference was so minor, it just kind of
Dude,
flew under the radar.
it wasn't though. It's like the
Yeah, I
whole
know,
of the
it's-
book, and I'm like,
Yeah,
to be
Thank you,
fair,
Bill
the episode
Cosby.
is
You've
based
saved The
on
Simpsons.
Cosby.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
like,
literally
where-
say that, and I'm like, come on, it's
But
just
like, I think it was just like like the case was so high profile, and like the
Yeah.
episode was centered around it.
yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Fox, obvious, and it's fucking Fox. Come on.
Yeah.
He said a French word there for radio listeners.
Yeah.
Get ready for the lawsuit, guys.
But what I'm asking though is what's the line though? Because like even Mr. Burns uses like a very outdated N word when he's looking for baseball players and stuff. Like
yeah,
so
like,
like
no. To be
what
fair,
do you leave it all or do you like
I would say leave it all. Honestly, like,
Yeah.
because all the stuff is like time capsuled, and
Yeah.
the thing about this is, right, even in the one I talked about where Herb comes back, there's like a clip show of like stuff that happened in the late 80s that only makes sense for the late, and even stuff like I was like, what, one in 1989, so I don't remember it. But going back, you're like, oh, this makes kind of sense, and I think removing this stuff, it's like you're killing the context of the show.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
You know?
you can keep it all, but I would probably do a Looney Tunes on it, and have a disclaimer. At the
Yeah,
start.
yeah, that's a good idea.
100%. That makes sense. Like what you're referring to there, Keen. Like that's the way Mr. Burns would refer
Yeah,
to
like,
things.
True.
He makes these
that-
weird references to leagues that aren't even a thing anymore. Like all those players are dead or in leagues that weren't there in time of segregation. You're like, it's funny because it's so ridiculous. It's like.
Oh, I agree. It's
you know?
funny. I just think it's really weird that it isn't a consistent like standard. I think Katie has the right idea. Just put a disclaimer and then don't like edit it or anything like
well,
that.
what they're starting to do now in the Simpsons when you watch it on Sky or Channel 4 is worse, man. I'm gonna call out Channel 4. They call you out Channel 4. Just edit the show. They just hack it. They get a big mallet and they're like, oh, we're gonna. To one point, there's the bit with the where the hillbillies have the brothel in the back of their thing, and it's like a cutaway
Oh,
joke.
is where do you
Yeah.
keep the
Look
prostitutes?
out back, yeah.
Round
And they cut it
back.
where it's just
Oops.
like, where do you keep it? And then it's like, if you're going to
Yeah.
do it, at least cut it properly. I'll edit the show for you for free.
Yeah.
There's
But
so
like, just do it properly.
Actually,
Well, see,
is
this
do
is-
you ever see the Sherry Bobbins episode? It's there's a bit where there's a Quentin Tarantino Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah, and they cut that
It
too.
gets 2 seconds into Itchy doing a dance, and it just cuts to Lisa
Yeah.
laughing. Why not just lift the whole bit?
But the whole see,
I mean, don't. But why do it that way? Like,
no, but like the thing about it is, it's like the context of the joke is it's a commentary on the violence of the society, and then he's
It's-
killed because
yeah, that's
it's
what
hilarious.
Tarantino says. Yeah.
It's like it. Oh, for example, just to break from it, it's like the people who are upset about Robert Downey Jr. being in Tropic Thunder at the moment. It's like
I've
one,
seen that post
like-
circulated.
Yeah,
again,
that's
yeah.
renewed lately.
it's like
Yeah.
you're like 10 years too late, and two, that is the point of the character. That's
Yeah.
the joke. It's like
Yeah,
Like, that's
to,
the
to
joke.
quote McBain,
There's a reason there
that's
was
the
no
joke.
big
You know?
reaction is because this was a commentary on a white actor doing blackface.
exactly that
Yeah.
is the actual joke that's said in the movie, and
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, I'm all for people being upset about things. I like being a contrarian. I'm a libertarian for Christ's sake, right? And it's like, at least have logic for what you're saying. At least be upset about something that makes sense, not just garbage, But yeah, anyway, sorry, that's a rant over.
Bottom line, blackface and child sex abuse aren't cool.
No, they're not cool. And if they're going to be in your show, at least leave the context makes sense, but have a warning up, as Katie said. That's the thing that makes more sense.
I mean,
Channel-
even
Sorry,
like
go on.
Channel 4 are known for editing things out, and they've recently they've acquired all of the seasons of Scrubs.
Oh my god,
all
they're
eight,
gonna
all 8
hack it to
seasons of
bits.
Scrubs. But this is the
Hmm.
thing, actually, because I've been watching it, and they don't. They just put
Really?
a disclaimer that says this isn't suitable for younger viewers, and they've left everything intact.
But see, the thing about The Simpsons is it's not suitable for kids. We just saw, like, for example, me and Bryn are huge wrestling fans. We watched wrestling during the Attitude Era, where there was a man who was a satanic cult leader. There was a woman who gave birth to a hand. There was, all these things that we shouldn't have been exposed to. One of the most referenced parts of that was puppies, where a man would scream puppies after the time he saw a woman and would say horrible things on commentary, which in hindsight you're like, oh my Christ, why was he saying this? And we watched this as children, not to mention the graphic violence. it was the 90s. It was the 2000s. Like, come on,
I think in all these cases, context is important. Like earlier, you
Context is
said the
king.
thing with Mr. Burns is outdated, and that's the point of the joke. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the whole
when
point of it.
people start editing these things, first it's policing your own sensibilities, which I don't like.
Yeah.
And secondly, if you ignore the context in which a joke exists, like the Robert Downey Jr. thing, then you're not even representing media fairly, you know?
Exactly. Like, there's even watching. I love the Amanda Show. If you ever see anything on the Amanda Show, it's me. But I realized that the Amanda Show has influenced my sense of humor like way more than I thought it did. Because it's like pretty much Monty Python, but it's the thing I saw before I saw Monty Python. The obscure comedy and
The
references.
dancing lobster, like
Oh,
drinking juice out of a sumo wrestler's tummy. There's a lot of Python in there.
Yeah,
I cannot explain why Totally Kyle is the funniest thing on the
Oh,
planet.
it's hilarious.
But it is.
But complete non sequitur, sorry. And like that's the whole point of it. But like Dan Schneider made that, right? And Dan Schneider's been into some really questionable stuff. And he has been influential in all these shows, right? So like what do you do with that? Like, do you just not watch it again, or do you it's got to do with the whole separating the art from the artist, and it's something that when we're going through old media we have to really kind of paint it. But my opinion of it would be put a warning up, or at least be aware, or don't glorify the person who did it. But if they're in it, it's like the whole Chris Benoit thing again. Bryn, everything is wrestling. Why is everything wrestling?
Yeah.
It's like Chris Benoit, like WWE have removed him from history, but he's still in the matches. If you're watching a match that he's in, they don't cut the match. It's still there because it happened, but they don't glorify him. And I think that's probably the better way to do it. Sorry, literally everything is wrestling. Watch our panel.
Yeah. In mind though, I think with something like Star Craving Dad not being on Disney Plus, is you have to remember this is the same company that you cannot find a digital copy of Song of the South.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And someone who's actually seen Song of the South, it's like it's boring, but I'm not sure if I'd call it offensive.
I wouldn't call it like Song of the South is like I went to Disneyland pretty much a lot, like what 10 times or something during the Celtic Tiger. My family love Disney. I can know all the songs. All these songs. Song of the South is a movie that I've seen a lot as a kid. It's it's so boring. It's unbelievable.
What's the thing the kid says? Like they're being entertained by the clock.
Yeah.
Oh, when the two hands strike the top, watch out.
But like the whole point of it is it builds up to that whole why the stories are so good. It's because life there is so boring and terrible. Again, like you have to be free to tell your stories, because if not, then we're going to have the same stories and it's not going to be fun for anybody, But look, Michael Jackson, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I would say if you want to go for something, go for his weird game that really aged badly, because that's that's a wild ride. But look, the episode itself, I found myself skipping a lot of it because there were some cool One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest jokes in it, but it wasn't really that great of an episode, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Well, I always find that Lisa-heavy episodes aren't very good anyway. Just
and there's loads of them in this.
It's not even how preachy she gets. It's just she's kind of boring anyway.
Yeah. Like she has like 3 or 4 episodes of her in this, and it's still surprisingly watchable season. But there definitely are respites.
It's kind of like it always feels like with Lisa, it's filler.
Yeah, and that's fair.
I would respectfully disagree. I love Lisa Goes to Washington to bits. I think it's excellent.
It is great.
I think it has a great message.
It's very season 2. It's very season 2.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a recurring thing. I feel like the first couple of episodes of a season are always kind of probably the leftover writers' room stuff from the last season.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Kind of like there's always going to be a bit of a cycle through there.
Yeah, when Flanders sails,
that's probably
another
that's probably a
season 2
production
type
thing. That's probably some sort of production layover. Completely, I lost words. Just like a product of kind of the production of it.
Yeah, like until about Treehouse of Horror, or even Saturdays of Thunder, that's when you start getting modern. Not modern. You start getting good Simpsons, right? That's when you start getting like what people feel as the golden age. because they've really hit all the cylinders. Like, I really like Bart the Murderer. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, that's excellent.
And it's
I
just
love
like-
that Tony's analogy for, like,
Bread.
steal bread to save your family. But what if they don't like bread? What if they like cigarettes? Like,
See, his first mistake there was raw bread is the best thing you can have.
so if a truck full of bread does go missing, we'll know where to look.
You know where it is. Well, it's either me or Lisa. To be fair, she'll probably get.
And don't stash it at Lisa's house.
Yeah, because that woman, God bless her, she understands my love of bread. So it's it is what it is. But there's a few.
We broke him.
You're-
just take a moment,
take a
breathe.
moment.
Right,
Think about
while he's having a moment, what do you think of when Flanders failed? Because I remember loving that one growing up.
It's a great episode. I love
Yeah.
love the story in it. I think, like, watching it back now, it's not as funny as I remember it being.
It's very look. To be fair, there's one or two episodes in this where it's like this is pretty dark. We don't have Homer suicide, but we have some dark moments.
They,
Like,
see,
that's
they,
still
I think they
crazy.
probably caught that and realized maybe we should stop having this guy try to kill himself every season.
a lot of marital problems in this season, though.
Yeah.
Well
know,
deserved,
Yeah, like
though.
I think definitely, yeah. When Flanders failed again, feels like another one kind of like was a layover from the last season
Mm.
because what we were saying about the last two seasons, there
Mm.
was always a kind of an ounce of tragedy in it.
Yeah.
That kind of definitely has that vibe more than most of the other episodes that come after in this season.
It has one of the most sinister. Actually, when I was
Mm.
watching this again in my notepad, I wrote this down, and it's like there's one bit that feels really Family Guy-ish or
Mm.
American Dad-ish, and it's where he's eating a burger. But it also feels very South Park. Like, even
Oh,
though
when
it's
he
shot-
starts choking on it, like.
Oh,
Yeah, no, when he's eating it, and whatever way it's shot, it feels like something that those series took. More so South Park,
Okay.
actually, when you're watching, you're like, this feels really like a South Park moment. And it's just weird. It's just the one thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and like, but I think the holdover from season 2 is kind of the early ones. Like, I think what was the other one? Like Father Like Clown.
I really
That
don't
was
like.
I love that
Dude.
one, but it's very, very tragic. Like, for me,
I-
that's when Krusty actually becomes a character.
I like it, but it's very boring. I have to be in the mood for it.
I
And I
don't
know-
know. I'd
That's
watch
fair.
that one most times. Like the whole sequence where Bart's trying to
Yeah, like, it's
outfloss
good.
him. Like there's I think there's some good scenes in it.
It's
Yeah.
and there's some really good jokes in it. Where it's just like, oh, we do a radio show together. Really? Oh, it's a talk at the playground. It's just like, yeah, we do this kid. It's just there's like little bits that are great. Like even the boring episodes.
Gabbing
have
with God.
Gabbing with God. There's little kind of jokes in it, and
Oh
but-
God, Krusty phoning into the sex line or whatever it is.
I know.
It's just little blokes.
My favorite bits was when it comes back to Itchy and Scratchy, and it's because it's got like a father and son thing in it. Oh, he just like, wasn't it beautiful? How
And he starts crying. Yeah.
Krusty's sad faces are a thing of art. Just like the long kind of upper limb. Oh,
like-
gold.
it definitely did feel again like a season 2 kind of thing because it had that kind of like they haven't really gone outside of the realms of possibility yet. All this stuff could kind of happen, but they're starting to flirt with it. It does not until you get to, I don't know, like
If I'm gonna put the postmark in it, I'm
Where?
gonna say Flaming Moe's.
I would say that.
If
I'm
I
not.
had to
I
I
was-
had to put one episode, I was gonna say I'd say Flaming Moe's.
You know where it was, right? For me, it was either Flaming Moe's or the episode after with the Candyland, with the Land of Chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that's a bit wild, But yeah, it's this at this point. This is when we start hitting
Like, the
really
fact-
good
yeah,
stuff. Really
Homer
good stuff.
puts cough set medicine in a drink that Mo steals that gets him so big that the red hot chili peppers are in your bar. I'm like, okay,
Aerosmith.
you started jumping a shark here.
Aerosmith.
And I
show
am
up.
in Aerosmith. Sorry, yeah. Chili peppers are like later.
Later.
Yeah.
But see, what I think is this is the first season where we started having gratuitous guest characters. So it started off with the softball with all those things. Who I didn't really look as a kid. I didn't even know they were real players. I just thought they were random guest characters and wondered for years why they never came back. It's just the joke was lost on me. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
But because
Plus-
we didn't have softball here.
no, or
growing
baseball,
up.
so we had no idea. We
Yeah.
had no frame of reference for it. We're like, who are these people? Okay, I don't get it. Like,
But I will stand up for the gratuitous celebrities though, because at least back then they
used them.
wrote funny characters for the celebrities. It
Yeah.
wasn't the celebrities are in it and that's the joke,
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I don't have a problem with it. I know some people will be like, this is when it went bad. I'm like, not really, because they
No.
kind of used them correctly. And
Me
Oh
with
yeah,
too.
like
Flaming, sorry, go on.
sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to say with Flaming Moe's, having Aerosmith in there and their interactions with Edna Krabappel is absolutely hilarious. I need my drumstick to play Mrs. Krabappel. Come and get it.
get 'em.
That woman is terrifying.
Oh god, she is a man eater,
Terrifying.
an absolute
Yeah.
man eater. It's scary.
And I love it.
Oh, it's
Um,
this season really fleshes her out as being like,
oh yeah. Oh no,
you know,
Bart the Lover absolutely like kind
oh
of
man,
throws just spitballs a character at her, and
Best
like
line?
completely for like
Be-
three dimensional.
best line which I kept. You have a date with a Xerox machine. I'm like, that's like that's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's
No,
brilliant.
like-
Bart is such a horrible little troll in that.
Yeah, this is when we just lose all empathy for him.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's such a monster. Actually,
but
that
yeah,
whole
It's
line.
funny.
that-
What I love about that episode is you've got the two sides of The Simpsons, which is the Bart and Edna Krabappel side is very much seasons 1 and 2, but Homer building the doghouse is very much later on. Like, dee that could require a tetanus shot.
Oh, he's just like, when Nolan Flanders is trying to go through and discover where he's getting the bad language from.
Well, he's not
He's
getting this from his brother.
I don't want
Bringing in
to
the Chiefs. Bringing in
Oh, the
Chiefs.
face, the meme face that he makes.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's so good. So good. What's it? Where he's just there is a really good bit in that as well, where they're writing the letter to say goodbye. Actually, that whole series where Homer's writing the thing, he's just like, just saying just ridiculous stuff, and they're trying to write it properly, but it shows
Crocodile
all
bit off my face.
yeah,
Yeah.
it shows the whole layers of The Simpsons, though. You really get a kind of character study of what the dynamic is. Lisa
Yeah,
is
that's a
there
good point. Yeah.
and it for the first time, it's really crystallized in a very funny little segment, but has a lot of heart to it as well. And
Yeah,
kind of,
Three
you feel
simple words. I am gay. Like.
Homer for the last time. No.
but you feel a lot of empathy for everyone in this show. Even Bart at the end, he kind of learns a lesson.
Yeah.
Never remembers it, but learns it. It's like,
So that's like it was all the kind of the ones where Bart really kind of screwed up before it kind of went into him feeling bad about it and kind of learned a lot. They've started really throwing that out the window, and it's for the best as far as like kind of keeping the comedy up.
Yeah, exactly. Katie and Bryn, you're unusually quiet. Where do you think this kind of shift happened?
I kind of agree with you though that it probably is around Flaming Moe's where it starts to get a bit unhinged.
I just realized this works perfect because of his background too.
I'm
all
totally
voting
not
for
getting
Moe's.
biased.
No. But I do think it is around that point that it does get unhinged. I'm just trying to see the episode order again just to remind myself, because I mean, like, they're basically one episode after the other, so like
Yeah.
first and then it's the Germans buying the
Oh, I love that one.
That's great.
they're both, I think it's around, like, either one it's easy to say is the beginning of it. Maybe even a shout out might be Saturdays of Thunder, which is,
See, that's it. They come one after another, so it's kind of hard to pick
it's
where it kind of starts.
that, like, I'd say, I mean, it definitely isn't I Married Marge, because that's
No.
very season 2.
Yeah.
But, and it's probably not Lisa's Pony, just because they rely so much on Money Trouble.
No, but Lisa's Pony, I noticed, was where the media references were creeping in. Because you have, like, the Godfather bit with the horse and the beds and, like, all that kind of stuff.
First appearance of Ion Springfield, which is a show they should spin off on Disney Plus, and I'd watch it
just for the music alone.
just for the music
I
alone.
forgot how trashy Ion Springfield is.
But that's the point. Like,
That was the point.
it's brilliant. It's just
And now for our special on bikinis.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I had to, like, turn Prim away from it. Like,
it's just gratuitous, like, boob shots and like food shots, and Ken Brockman living in a fantastic life, and you're like, okay,
And that's before he won
Yeah.
the lottery.
that's before he won the lottery. Exactly.
and even the stuff that isn't that, like, Springfield's smallest man beats Springfield's fattest man. It's exactly the kind of thing. No disrespect to Channel 4, they do great comedy work, but those kind of trashy, borderline exploitive documentaries you see a lot of, like, kind of around there.
By the way, I saw the best documentary the other day on Channel 4. I'll tell you after we go off the air because it's really funny. It's funny, but it's really
The
tragic at the same time.
suspense.
Yeah, it was just like I found there was a part in it where I literally started crying laughing, and I'm like, I feel horrible about now, but it's just what happened. Katie, where do you feel? Are you kind of with us here, where you think it was somewhere between Saturdays of Thunder or the Land of Chocolate, where this show just became the best show ever?
Yeah, I think it was probably it's definitely where it became one of the craziest shows, just around flaming Moe's, because like how do you get he made a drink with cough syrup, lit it on fire, and it became $1 million industry?
Because fire made it good.
Yeah, right. But like, how does that even I mean, Aerosmith is drinking in Moe's Tavern.
Mm.
Well, they say, I hate this joint, but I love this drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean,
Can you tell that I have all this memorized? It's
but like at that point,
bad.
you've got a town of like drug addicts who
Literally.
also have never get
Literally,
colds.
yeah. Literally, it's just like, oh, I love the bit where your man is
Yeah.
trying to figure out how it works, and like a big case of cough syrup comes up. He goes, I got hooked on the service. I'm like, you just let that go, like that.
Yeah.
Do a bit of
It's
investigation.
Springfield.
Yeah, it's true. True.
Yeah, but you can't even
It's-
buy
yeah.
that much stuff legally.
Probably could. Look, it was
It's
1991.
Springfield.
You
The
probably
fact that
could.
Mo ends
Yeah.
up with a whale in the back of his room, he has connections.
Oh, and pandas.
And
But to be fair, and it was 1991, and Mo isn't the most above board kind of guy, so he probably had a way.
I
Yeah.
don't think he ever was, even in later series, even when he kind of cleans up his act a bit, he's still quite shady in the fact that like he's always chasing after Marge, who's a married woman, and
Yeah.
all of this kind of like he's never fully above board.
Oh no, he's
He
a
doesn't-
sleazeball. That's
He
doesn't-
ran the bloody deer hunter out of his back room.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know Marge's name. He calls her Midge.
Midge, yeah.
It's like
They're gonna take away my thumbs.
Midge, come on. Brilliant. They're gonna take away my thumbs.
I'm 13 grand in the hole.
I married Actually, hold on. One of my favorite episodes is coming up. I married Marge is.
Oh, no, I
I knew you'd love that. I knew you'd.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a Keen episode. He would love this, and I'm like, oh.
yeah, it's like the one last season.
It's
Like,
like the one last
it's not the
season, yeah.
funniest thing, but
Yeah.
I like how it fleshes out.
I
things
don't know.
like
I
the
always
family.
think of Homer ruining Empire Strikes Back for people coming out of the cinema.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty
Yeah.
good. It's pretty good.
Or, like when he's like talking to the belly and he's like, kid, when you come out of there, the first thing you're gonna see is like a man with a good job. Yeah, the doctor.
There are some like razor lines in that whole, and again, it's like it nearly goes to that point where it's dark, where you're like, is Homer going to kill himself again? It's like, oh no, he's just going to work in a fast food restaurant or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
it's actually, I'm glad you brought up the German one already, because that feels like a sort of a remake of the one where he nearly jumps off the bridge with him getting fired for being unsafe and all that kind of stuff.
Also, I just didn't notice the level of consistency in the fact that like that in that episode where he tries to jump off the bridge, he's named safety instructor.
Yeah.
So the fact it's just like something that kind of threw me for a loop is the fact that like they kept that same job.
Yeah.
Things,
I don't know
things
something about
actually
the internal
change.
consistency of the Simpsons.
Yeah.
Like it struck me that they kept it.
Well, it's the status quo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they actually
It's the
pulled
status quo.
in that episode though, because they're going, well, you've been safety inspector for 2 years now, so what initiatives have you done? And he's just like,
He's got all of them. He's done all of them.
But see, if you think about it, right, this is still going back to the theory that we mentioned at the beginning of this run. This is still like could happen.
Mm.
This is before he went into that coma, so maybe all this actually is happening, and it does kind of lead up to him being in the coma, and then the show goes completely off the rails. You know, because he's been saved. So
He fall down a well and Sting would dig him up.
it's not outside the realm of possibility. It really isn't. He just Sting would do anything for his fans. You know.
So
One thing
we
I
are
did,
sending our love down a well.
but,
All the way down.
Krusty's like little kind of lines over that are just fantastic. One of the best part.
It's just I love it hits a soft spot for me, just the spoof of that kind of Live Aid song. I love that. It's so
Yeah.
good. Even just having all like the B-roll celebrities like Dr.
Oh,
Martin
like-
Rose in there.
The Capital
I
City Goose ball.
Ken Brockman's in there as well, which is the random lawyer who is like you never see again, but the really shady one is there for some reason, and I'm like, who are you? There's actually one lady in the back who I have no idea who it is. I'm still trying to figure
That's
out. That's
because
who
they
it is.
didn't have enough characters yet. They,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
they do now.
Well, they have your woman who Homer dances with
Yeah.
there as well.
Oh, Lorraine Lumpkin or
No,
no,
Darlene is there.
Miss
That's Belly
Cashmere.
Dancer.
It's
Yeah,
Cashmere,
Miss
yeah,
Cashmere from
Miss
like the first
Cashmere.
season.
So it's like they really did kind of. I don't think Darlene's there because Darlene isn't a thing yet. No, she isn't there.
It hadn't come out yet.
Hasn't
Yeah.
come out yet.
Yeah, she's in Colonel Homer now.
She's in Colonel
Yeah,
Homer.
that's
Yeah,
it. That's later on.
later on.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. You think she would have been there? Maybe the order got mixed up or something. But
She turns up in the monorail one later on.
She
So like
does.
she does keep existing.
she does, and she turns up a couple of other times later on as a washed up.
With the Dixie Chicks and all that. Yeah.
Actually, one just deep pull I only clocked watching it today was the fact that the bowling guy that Marge had the affair with in like the first season, he's in the credits the entire time.
He's what?
He's
Really?
he's
Yeah,
in
when
the
you-
intro credits.
Yeah, he's in the intro credits. Yeah, the entire
Yeah,
time.
just I'd never clocked him. Just for
Oh, when
such a
Bart's
small
going by on the
character to be in the
skateboard,
On the
credits
okay.
the
skateboard,
entire
he's
time.
at the bus. Yeah, he's at the
Yeah.
bus stop.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
he's always a recurring background character. Like even if he doesn't have lines, you'll see him floating around. Like because he lives
Yeah.
in Springfield, you're gonna see the same
just-
people.
Yeah,
His
it's just-
photo is up in the bowling alley place where Marge tries to get the bowling balls flushed, like, which is another great episode. That's season 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rancho
Yeah.
Relaxo.
And don't forget as well, he's also part of one of the best bowling teams, the Homewreckers.
The Home Wreckers, yeah.
One of the best names. One of my personal favorite episodes in this, guys, right, is Lisa the Greek.
Yes.
This
See, I was
is-
wondering if you consider that a series 2 type story or not.
No, because it's way too funny. It's way too
It's
funny.
too
way
good for season
it's way
2.
too like
It's too-
smooth. Everything about
Everything.
it just hits.
Like it's a Lisa episode, but it has so much heart. It's so sweet, and also the jokes are hilarious. Like
Yeah, I've
it's
gone
so
several
funny.
pub quizzes. I've gotten what is the name of Meryl Streep's cologne, like versatility, like
versatility. No, the best one is like for me. Again, Bryn, when we were talking about wrestling in our wrestling group, we used Lock of the Week so much. It's unreal. Or the shoe in of the week. That's a pretty big shoe. So it holds a personal attachment because it's quote farm. Like you can like season 3 is the first time where you can just pick an episode and you're
you
going to
wouldn't
get.
set up like a coach's hotline for wrestling picks, no.
Oh God, no.
Oh, God.
That taught me a very
coaches.
valuable lesson about those about those type of phone calls.
Yeah,
But
well,
that was a thing that was rampant in the 90s, in the 80s and
was.
90s, wasn't it? The call-in phone things.
or do you remember you could download like ringtones and stuff, and it would be
Yeah,
billed or
yeah.
it'll take ages. So it's just like again, those jokes are probably kind of lost on people who didn't do that or who were born 20 years ago. It's like, oh man,
I think they're still funny enough on their own, though, even without that kind of
yeah,
existing
but
in the
like
culture. Like,
you remember it though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like with this, you're like, oh yeah,
Like,
that's what it was
you
like.
lived that.
You lived it. Yeah. It was just funny. I do think the setup is a bit contrived, but
Mm.
it ends in a very good place. I love the scathing criticisms of Chief Wiggum, where he's in Moe's, like literally using the illegal betting as a
As
legal,
a coaster.
as a
Yeah,
coaster.
yeah.
It's like, oh, here you go. It's just like, it's brilliant. Homer Alone is Rancho Relaxo, and that's one that
That's
feels
it.
weird.
Yeah.
That's one that feels kind of weird to me. I don't know what you guys thought about that.
Oh, I love it to bits. Just because I love the fact that if you split up the family unit, they realize they kind of need each other.
Mm.
And that's something kind of the episodes kind of do usually, but not really pull off. And it's also just nice to see Homer trying to parent. That hits the sweet spot.
Right.
But I
Like,
mean, this
He staples a nappy together.
this is kind of a recurring theme up to this point in all the seasons, and is that Marge does everything, and then she gets overwhelmed and she goes away for a while, and Homer has to take care of the kids, and then she realizes she loves her family. She comes back. Homer vows to do better, and then the cycle starts again.
It's the first time this really happened, though.
Well,
It's
I
the
mean, is it though? When she has the whole affair with
Jacques.
Jacques.
it's because again she's feeling underappreciated and overworked, and so she decides, I'm gonna go bowling, and then she meets this guy and he's treating her lovely.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. That's a very good point.
It's constantly ticking over, and it's and it shows that like they're not perfect people, and they're never going to be perfect people, and no matter how much they promise each other they'll do better, they can't.
Yeah, because they're like again all this kind of field, and there's actually a good like satire of The Simpsons in the later season where they're watching a parody of that show Dinosaurs. Remember Dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Disney
Yeah.
show? And they're like, oh, it's like they watch their show and our lives are put on TV, and it's like, oh, that's a deep cut against Disney.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But
I
yeah,
just, I
like
just like some of the physical, like just some of the physical comedy from Maggie in this episode. I just think is
Okay.
I'm
there's something about just how stretchy Maggie is. I just find inherently funny.
I'm
Oh,
glad-
her hanging onto the door. Yeah.
Her hanging onto the door. Just,
I-
yeah.
Fun fact: babies can actually do that.
I would believe it.
Yeah, babies are rubber.
Yeah, they're just like the bones aren't there yet, so they're good to go. A lot of physical background comedy in this. One of my favorite Simpsons moment, Homer moment in the background is actually in Radio Bart, and I totally forgot it was there. I didn't realize I loved it so much until I was watching it. It's the bit where Bart is playing with the microphone. He's like, "This is Bartron. You know, we have taken your president."
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And
Yeah,
Homer
yeah.
just runs with the shotgun. It's amazing, and you're like, and he realizes, and he's like, "You little," you know, he's because they're choking him. It's brilliant.
Wait, you liked my present?
You like my present? So it's like so good. It's brilliant. But just Homer with the I'm like, he got that gun fast. It's like,
It's definitely not locked in a
it's
safe.
definitely not locked in the safe. It's just there. And it's funny because later on, like Homer will reference, Marge, get my gun. So he must have this rifle that it's very dark.
Oh yeah,
It's-
we find out later he keeps it in Maggie's crib.
Yeah,
Oh really? Is that where he keeps
because
it?
she starts sniping people with
You're
it.
right. You're
That's
right.
right.
This
I
is-
think an art dealer comes by looking like, and he like puts it back in the crib when she turns out not to be a threat. Like,
But this is like that's after I think Who Shot Mr. Burns, where they get, and it's also after the Cartridge Family, where they get. I think it is where Maggie actually they buy a gun, like a handgun. It's a big deal.
Well,
So,
yeah.
But
But
what's weird?
that's always, I think Homer always has the rifle and the shotgun, and Marge always has the handgun.
Right. It's just weird. It's like because I know I'm probably thinking way too much into this, but there's such a big thing made out of the handgun. I'm like, the man has a rifle where he just pulls it out many times. during the
yeah, but a
series.
rifle is incredibly cumbersome. Like, you're only gonna get like one shot off it in an emergency. Like, he has it when he thinks the boogeyman is running around the house. A handgun you can take anywhere and leave anywhere. Like,
But one thing as well about this is another thing that Channel 4, thanks Channel 4, likes to cut out. They cut out all references to this, and the joke is lost. Like, it's a funny joke.
what, the gun or?
Yeah, like that, like literally that part in the when it's replayed on Channel 4, and I think Sky as well. They cut it out, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think. I know I brought this up maybe on the first episode, but I don't think I saw the British pub in the St. Patrick's Day parade getting blown up and Homer being the Prime Minister of Ireland for a decade.
Yeah. Because
Must have just got
Yeah, but that's not in the series though. That's a little bit later on.
They do it in BBC. Did it with Star Trek as well. They censored the data. Makes a reference to the Irish reunification of 2021 being a successful result of terrorism or something like that. And
Well,
they
it might-
never play that on TV anymore.
We're like a couple of months away from 2021, so
I know. Yeah.
Let's see how that plays out, Cotton.
It's a bold strategy.
Ball strategy. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was
yeah.
getting at. But no, it's just it's scary when stuff like that happens, But so much, it's like we talk about the Simpsons predicting the future, and yeah, so there's Star Trek possibly predicting the future, in some weird kind of way,
Well, Simpsons is just like it's. I don't think it's predicting. I think it's just that it's very sharp and timely. Like things are kind of going to loop around eventually.
But it's timeless as well at the same time.
Timeless, very good.
Like,
Yeah.
like even the way there's a lot of jokes here that are rooted in early 90s, late 80s, it's not really until they start relying on pop culture as such that it ages. Like,
Oh, that's I think Super Eye Patch Wolf does a very good breakdown of The Simpsons, and I think the pivot he says is that The Simpsons goes from critiquing pop culture to worshipping it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the thing about it is, it's well, like when they, for example, no one has a phone,
Mm.
and that's weird. That's not weird. It's not weird when you're watching a show compared to nowadays where everyone has a phone, right? For example, the internet isn't a thing, so they're watching TV, and it's a big deal to watch TV. There's no computers, right?
Yeah. Cable is a big deal.
Cable's a big deal. Like these
Mm.
things, you just kind of accept as inherent within that universe, and it doesn't take away from it. But when they start bring, as we said, there's certain things that age it more. For example, the Michael Jackson stuff that really ages it, and not because of what happened, but because that was really of its time. The Bill
Yeah.
Cosby stuff of its time, MacGyver of its time, and these are kind of things where you're like, oh yeah. Like one thing that is great actually is Spinal Tap. This is my first, probably all of our introductions to Spinal Tap.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was in the Otto episode. Yeah, I think Kev, you might have said it earlier, but I keep forgetting the Spinal Tap and Otto getting fired are the same story.
Yeah, it's the B plot.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
it's,
no,
I didn't realize they were a real band until I was much older and saw the movie.
Or
I
the movie, aside from even like the actual like band that they
Band.
made because of the movie.
Mm,
But
exactly.
like, and even then, some of the stuff in that, like at the start of that episode, is I would say funnier than the actual Spinal Tap movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like, there's
it's
so much in it.
riffing on the Stonehenge thing, but it's doing it really, really well. Like,
It's much
I
tighter.
I don't know, man. I mean, the Spinal Tap movie goes to
It's
11.
it's
know.
very good. But like I'll be standing at gigs and I will think to myself, "Thank you, Springton. There will be no encore." Just all the time, it's just itched in there.
But like I would say that it's the first time, right? And it's
No, sorry, I'm just remembering. I went to see Baby Metal at Download Festival a couple of years ago.
Mm.
They were 20 minutes late coming on a stage because it downpoured.
I heard that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
heard that,
and like
yeah.
for obvious reasons, because they're a dance, like they kind of do a lot of dance act. Like it's actually dangerous. I was standing in the rain next to my friend, and I just started like the bloody stage full of water, or some sort of it's a rock show,
Bleeding
not some
splish
splash
splash
show.
Splash show. You saw
Sorry,
Baby Metal live? I'm so jealous.
I've seen them
They
live
play
twice,
Gimme
man.
Chocolate.
Of course they did, and I danced, and it was wonderful.
I know somebody
And I
who
cherish that memory.
actually I know somebody who Bryn and myself used to work with who flew over to California for the sole purpose of seeing Baby Metal and then flew straight back home. I'm like, why did you do that? That was
Oh
just-
man, worth. Totally worth.
oh no, totally worth it. Like, yeah, I did the same thing for Poppy, but I was over there for other reasons. But a 12-hour flight over and back, man, that's hardcore. So fair play.
Yeah,
Plus-
I've only ever
plus
done that
going
for,
through,
I've only done that in
like,
London.
Plus going through Border Patrol. Like, that's a hassle in itself.
Yeah, no, it's not fun. Definitely not. But for the times when you could just get on a flight, right? But yeah, like one thing.
Europe.
Yeah,
So far away.
so far away.
Can we talk about
England's so
Sideshow
far
Bob for
away.
a minute? Because this
Yeah.
is this is his first proper outing. Like,
Right.
Well,
so-
no, I would say he started off with the season one where he framed Custody. I like
But
that.
no,
that is the crystal.
oh, it's a great episode.
This
But,
is
like,
where
kind
it
of
really
murderous,
rounds out.
No, hold on.
murderous Sideshow Bob though. Like, because like they had to conceal to some degree he was the villain. So like, this is full on like eloquent Sideshow Bob from beginning to end. Like,
Hold on. I just want to talk about this. Right. Actually, we are going to have to go to break at some point for the radio
Okay.
listeners. So, when that happens, let you know. But I'll just finish the point. We go to break.
Mm.
This is the first time where I've ever seen a character so fleshed out so completely. Like, they establish so much in this. It's an exposition. He's like, do you know what prison is like for a lifelong conservative Republican, right? So they establish that instantly. They establish his political views. Where his best line is where he's like, "They can only keep the Democrats out of the lighthouse."
I was gonna
White House
say
so
that,
long,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
all my criminal buddies will be back. I'm like, that's really funny. But they also establish his motive, that he's incredibly intelligent, that he is homicidal, and that also Bart is a genius. Like, literally, Bart.
yeah, Bart can do
genius.
anything when he sets his mind to it. The Edna Krabappel episode is an example of that as well. He just
What a-
rarely does.
But there's a really good cutting line in this as well, where he turns to. Why do I keep wanting to call him Quimby?
Wiggum.
Wiggum, thank you.
Yeah.
Where he goes to Wiggum and goes, I wouldn't want to tell the number one police officer how to do his job. And he's like, no, please, this is the only way I'll learn. And he's just like, it's brilliant. It's so razor sharp,
But wait,
But
how
they
did the room
establish so
blow
much.
up? Oh, we were having some celebratory scars, and I threw a match, and
I looked like Homer's
Oh,
there,
right,
and
yeah.
Homer's like the instigator of the whole thing as well. You can just kind of see. But yeah, like they set up Sideshow Bob so well in this that it's just like, it's masterful.
yeah,
what-
yeah.
It's really good. But sorry, Kevin, you wanted to talk about him a bit more.
Well, no, I was kind of just about like pretty much echoing the same sentiments you had. Like it crystallizes where like the first episode like for a season 1 episode
Mm.
does such a good job at introducing the character of this clown who's actually like a classics major who managed to like devise this grand plot to get his boss in jail, but to take that and then be like, okay, but let's crank this up to 20 and just have him marry a woman simply to kill her and like just knowing that the next step of this evolution is the Cape Fear episode, which is incredible. Like I love all the Sideshow Bob episodes.
It's
so
untouchable.
much.
It's untouchable. And even in the later seasons where they bring him back, and the
Oh,
seasons
I remember
are great.
that there was the one in Rome.
That one's really
Yeah.
good.
How
Oh,
many
yeah,
episodes?
yeah.
Like,
That is one of the rare episodes where they give Sideshow Bob a family and keep it. That's one of the rare changes they do later
Vendetta,
on. That they actually
Vendetta.
manage. Like, I've got to say, even in the later Simpsons episodes, I feel like the bar goes up slightly whenever Sideshow Bob turns up because they have to work
agree.
at it to make it worth Kelsey Grammer's time.
I agree.
Yeah.
And just we're gonna hold that thought, guys. If you're listening to this on Phoenix 92.5 FM, go over to Nerd to Know Media, start downloading the feed because we're gonna talk about the Simpsons for a fair bit longer, and we'll talk to you next week. All right, and we're back on the stream. So yeah, that's probably weird for anyone watching the stream, but hey, that's the way we do the show, right? Breaking the
on
fourth wall.
radio.
On radio. Now we're
You
not.
know what
well,
it's like? It's like in the Simpsons episode where Snake is like charging at Bart in his car, and they go to a to-be continue to come straight back.
Yeah, that's
That
literally
always
what it
felt
is.
weird to me.
Death
Uh,
drives a stick.
The
I am just
Simpsons will return right now.
right now. Actually, that's a very underrated one as well. That's one where Lisa which one is it?
They do a full role reversal where
They do a
Lisa
full
becomes
reversal.
a punk and Bart,
Yeah.
who is deliberately referred to as a fascist, like, in his whole monitoring duties.
Separate vocations. That's what it's called.
That's it, yeah.
That's one that I forgot was there, and this is the first because it's so heavily Bart as well, and the roles are reversed, and you get to see how efficient Bart is once he kind of he really is a good his calling is probably the police, and he's already been established as being a a fantastic detective later on as well.
He
And
just
Lisa,
needs the push.
the push he just needs, and he just but that whole part where he's chasing Snake is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then it cuts through it. So I forgot that was here, and it's that one feels later. It feels like a season 4 or 5.
It's still got the heart to it, though. Like, I feel like the earlier episodes are very raw and emotional. There's still a touch of that here.
Oh, Bart taking the dive for Lisa absolutely is has emotional impact to it. Like it definitely, it has a whole lot of heart to it.
Yeah, because no one believes in Lisa, at least at an institutional level. To some degree, Marge doesn't either, but Bart does, and he's willing to throw away everything. And then it ends with her playing the saxophone. So it's a lovely little journey,
Again,
Yes.
Shows kind of how intelligent Bart is, because he knows if Lisa gets downed for this, that's her. That's the end of her line. Whereas Bart could take another hit.
Yeah, Bart can take a hit and keep going.
It's expected of him at that point.
The back and forth with him and Skinner at the end of it. It was 300 days. Come on, Skinner, that's the best you got.
No, a really good part with Bart as well when he takes up the guitar in the auto show.
Yeah.
And he takes
The
up
auto show.
yeah, and he's just and he's trying to play it, and it's really funny. But the actual flashback that the dream sequence he has with him and Milhouse's band, it's brilliant. I said slag off. He throws the
They're all
whiskey bottle.
disgusting pigs.
It's so good. It's brilliant, And
Yeah, I've got to
Little
say, I
bits like
really love Bart's lack of ambition, because when he's taking the SATs, they could be like, you might end up as a drifter if you're not careful.
He's
and he
cool,
dreams
a
it. It's
drifter.
He's like,
Ooh.
Well, it's not his lack of ambition. He just seems to have a warped sense of what things are.
Yeah, that's better.
You know,
Also,
I-
just on the auto show, we actually get development on Paddy and Selwyn this season between
lot.
the Selma episode and then Paddy bonding with Otto over the test.
Yeah, there's a lot. One of the episodes that is silly and shouldn't be as good as it is, but has a lot of heart to it, is Dog of Death.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't call that all the lotto. As someone who's Kev, you'll back me up on this. As someone who sells lotto tickets, that feels very true. The opening
Yep.
of that
Oh,
episode.
if somebody came in with a wheelbarrow, I'd be like, cool, how many quick picks?
Oh god, the amount of times someone comes up and says the winning ticket, please. Like,
Oh, yeah.
everyone kind of has that. Well, I suppose it's a very Irish thing. People buy it even though they know they're not going to win, compared to The Simpsons, where everyone thinks they're going to win.
See, what needs to happen is you need to release a book called The Lottery.
I do love the joke of Homer throwing that in the fire, but there's the Bill Cosby book in the
Thing's still there. Yeah, and I think that continues. I think doesn't he have a book on like doing dog operations on there as well? That gets thrown on too.
that gets thrown in there as well.
And the goddamn dog surgeon who loves the job so much.
This is the. Oh, I'm
This is the
sorry
part
to
I hate.
here for him throwing the hamster into the bin through the basketball
The
hoop.
basketball.
Just imagine him giving mouth to mouth with his dog. It's just awful.
And it's funny to think all these guest characters who could have been like as big as like Professor Frink and stuff, for some quirk of fate weren't. That vet could have been one of them.
Yeah, but see, like, I think they already, as soon as Dr. Nick came in, like, properly, he just got
Yeah.
overshadowed. Because Dr. Nick is, like, the best character next to, like, Lionel Hutz. In the,
Well,
did-
I
well,
did
think
they go-
him and Lionel Hutz make a great double act. I'm surprised they weren't paired up more often.
did they
Hang
go-
on a
they go
minute
see-
now,
Sorry, go on.
because Dr. Frink both makes you laugh and makes
Makes
you think.
This is true.
That monkey's gonna pay.
Oh, that monkey's going to pay.
I got a big soft spot for Mo. Mo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's just such a
Mo.
sleaze bag, though.
Yeah, that's why
He
I love
is though, but he's got this odd stoicism to him though. Like when Homer ruins his $1 million, he just invites him in and apologizes. Like,
Yeah.
I did love the Cheers parody, though.
Oh, yes.
yeah, you'd never guess that half the Cheers staff were on the Simpsons writing staff. Because Prim's been up at 6 a.m. and I've been watching Cheers on Channel 4. I'm like, oh, I recognize those writer names.
Well, look,
Like half of them
Sorry.
must have gone to Frasier and half of them must have gone to The Simpsons. Like,
that's kind of what happened. Yeah, that's why Kelsey
Mm.
Grammer shows up.
I see. Okay, now that makes sense.
There's
Well,
actually
isn't there's an episode much later, I can't remember what season it is, where they introduce Sideshow Bob's brother and it's Niles.
Oh, it's Niles, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
so-
that's
yeah.
seasons like 8 or 9 or something like that. But that's like the last really excellent Sideshow Bob episode, I think.
And it's
I
what's it?
don't know, because they did the Italy one after
The Italy
that.
one's great, yeah. There's a
The
few
Italy
other
one's
ones.
great, but it's just not quite on the level. Like I like the one where Sideshow Bob is helping them track down Homer's killer and
That's
stuff as
good
well.
as
There's
well.
a few gems,
Yeah,
but I still
Frank
just wouldn't put
Grimes'
them as
son.
high up. Like, yeah,
Well-
as high up as like Bob hijacking the blimp or running for mayor or any of those kind of
Well,
ones.
the fact that Cousin Merle isn't in any of those episodes really brings it down.
Old Hungry Joe.
Oh, Cousin Merle.
Tell them
Cover
they'll
all,
live
don't
to
quite
regret
cut.
this.
Now I sound
Now
crazy.
I look crazy.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah, like as I said, the mid part of this season really, really, really hits fantastic.
Yeah.
It also has, it's the second Treehouse of Horror. This is actually probably my favorite Treehouse of Horror as well, because okay, well, not only do we have a lot of Stanley Kubrick, but we have a lot of Twilight Zone in this.
So I get my Treehouse of Horror mixed up. Which 3 stories are in season 3?
These are, except for the last one, I think the 2 of them are actually Twilight Zone. So the Monkey Paw,
Right.
and the Bart he's a monster. He can, whatever he thinks happens. Now, what's weird is, like you guys probably, these are the first time I only saw these stories for the first time in The Simpsons. And much later on, like we're
Mhm.
talking 3 years ago, I found out they were Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's the-
definitely the Bart kind of, you got the narrator and stuff. Like they
Yeah.
lean
It's-
heavily into that.
But it's the same even with the one where Mr. Burns takes Homer's brain and puts it in the robot. Like that's a reference to Frankenstein.
it is, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's one of the ones I quote the most. Damn it, Smithers! This isn't rocket science. It's brain surgery.
I was just
Bad
like,
corpse, bad corpse.
Bad
Stop
corpse.
scaring Smithers.
beating him with the shovel.
Beauty.
Like like the first Treehouse of Horror is great. This one is a step up from it, and they just keep getting
Mm.
better and better as they're going along. They lose the Treehouse narrative. Like this is, I think it's all the I like the little threading where they eat loads of candy, and that's why they're having nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the next season, they're all having like a Halloween party. Like you're right, they do kind of lose it later on. They also kind of lose. I think doesn't Marge give like a little speech at the top of each Halloween thing for the first few seasons?
She still does, yeah. But it
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
gone away. And I think losing that, it lost something. It lost that kind of that charm to it.
Yeah.
But still,
Because the stories no longer exist in the Simpsons universe if they're just random 3 little stories. Like,
Well, Katie,
Well,
I think I think you brought up last week that they start just bringing up random parodies and stuff later on.
Did I?
Yeah, you were saying that.
Well, Treehouse. I'm a little bit ahead. Treehouse of Horror 3 is where like the King Kong one is, so it's starting to sneak in. Like,
All right. Sorry, Katie, you want to get in there?
Do I?
Did you? I thought you wanted to get in there. Sorry.
I don't know. My name was called, and I'm like, ah!
I thought I interrupted you.
Are you getting like school flashbacks, like like not paying attention in class?
Stand up and
12 for me
answer
now.
this. And you're like,
Stand up and answer this.
Speaking of which, though, going back to the one where Bart and Lisa trade places, I sympathize with those teachers when the answer books disappear. Does anyone know the times tables? Did I ever tell you kids about the 60s?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Like, it's because they always told us in school, you have to learn this now because you're not going to have it when you're an adult. And they're right. Like, you don't have it. But it's kind of like, also, you don't really need it.
That's true.
So,
that's a fair point.
The only thing I've ever needed from school that they told me I would not have, which I do have, is a calculator in my pocket.
Fair.
Because everybody's phone, and they're like, you have to learn how to do this without a calculator because you won't have one. Like,
You're like, you were wrong.
Nah.
You were
Yeah.
I mean, even when I worked retail, there was a designated calculator for the shop so that we could add things up, without putting them into the till. Just make sure it was right and then do it. It's like you're gonna have these things as long as you buy one.
What sort of torture dungeon have you ended up in where you have to do multiplication tables without a calculator? Because I feel like you need to call the cops and stop doing maths.
Imagine being a teacher at home or whatever, and you're doing your gradings, and like they're like, no, you can't grade these with a calculator.
You're on your own.
Yeah, you have to know it.
Like the only time that's happened is when you play Jackbox. And that's and you have to do the quiz
on your phone
on Murder Party or whatever. That's the only time where I've like experienced that. But usually,
if I ever become like a full primary school teacher, I'll be like, you got to learn these sums because one day you're going to be playing Murder Party and you're going to need this.
I thought you were going to say if you ever become a murderer. I was like, Jesus. This
I mean, maybe who knows?
Count the bodies.
Let's see how the lockdown goes. But I also want to highlight that we get our first really good Skinner Vietnam moment in the one with Milhouse's girlfriend, where he like turns to the window and like the blinds are down over him. It's how they spit on me when I came home.
They said I'd have a parade when I came home.
Yeah.
Spit on me. It's like so much character brought in there. I like Lisa. What's it like?
Is so good as well.
Go on. What's it?
The speech where he's there going to they've fed me on 3 different. It's like on some
kinds
of rice. I went mad.
I went mad trying to find it.
Just can't get it right.
Colonel Homer
and Fuzzy Buddy's Guide to You Know What.
See, hold on. That one is kind of ruined because it's used so later on in the clip show.
Oh, well, that's not the clip's fault, though.
It's not the clip's fault, but I know why now. I know why I hate all the Love episodes. That clip show really bugs me.
Yeah.
And they use all the lovey-dovey bits in it, and I'm like, oh, I hate this. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
On Sky One, they used to play it right after the full Mindy episode as well, so you're like, oh, God, my time's being wasted.
Exactly. Colonel Homer. This episode's surprisingly good, guys.
Yeah.
I'm always surprisingly good. Like, this is always one of them.
And ruining the powers of them.
Sorry, this was always one of the most prolific ones for me.
Really?
One I always end up remembering.
Yeah, I remember it, but I don't remember it being as good. Like it's throughout the whole runtime, while it's telling this big romantic story and Homer being tempted, it's also really, really funny. Like even the beginning where he's driving out of town and he has to hold his breath throughout the whole,
him in the cinema gold.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's weird though. Like cause someone explained this to me, right? He has the drink.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get the it's finished.
Oh, the popcorn.
That wasn't popcorn though, because he was drinking out of it.
What I
So
think,
which one is it?
I think it's a slushy.
Oh.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Because I was like, where did that styrofoam come from? I'm like, who's
think
drinking
I think
styrofoam?
I'm guessing
Yeah,
it's a slushy
it's
because when they
probably
suck all the
the
juice out of it,
ice.
it's just the ice.
Yeah.
Ah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I
Yeah, yeah.
actually, I'm
Slushy
really glad you brought
aficionado.
up Colonel. I'm really glad you brought up Colonel Homer because comparing kind of Marge freaking out and nearly going off with Jock and Homer nearly going off with Lurleen, it's what's interesting is Marge, her freak out seemed to come from a place of Homer letting her down, whereas Homer's seemed to come from a general dissatisfaction with the way his life is. Like,
But that makes
it's
sense
not
though.
because Marge. It's not because Marge did anything. Like, even in the Mindy episode, he goes home and like Bart's got stuff in his hair and Lisa's burning French fries and like the dog has stolen Grandpa's teeth. So it's, I don't know. I find it interesting that it's not Marge specifically that drives him to that. It's something broader than that. Like,
No, but that makes sense though. You know, it's not like a lust kind of thing because his wife
Hmm.
is
I
Well, yeah, no,
with
rewatching it,
Marge. you know?
I didn't get a whole huge sense of infidelity off of Homer from that. though.
Yeah, I don't either. He like to be fair, it's something.
It doesn't seem like he's going out of his way to go like he just he found Lurleen, had a song that really spoke to him for whatever, like questioning how he feels at the time you can go back and forth on, but
Hmm.
he just found a song spoke to him. He had to make it known to her, and then she was like, okay, cool. And then they just kind of back and forth, and he ended up being his manager, her manager.
But
I
Kev,
didn't.
Kev, there is one. There on that point, she does actually say this is the first time that someone's been nice to her without looking for something.
yeah.
You know, I think if Homer was going to try and do anything, he would have tried way sooner.
Yeah, and I think even isn't there a point where she tells him how she feels, and he's like, "Whoa."
Yeah, he's like, "Whoa, I'm married." You know, this is.
Yeah.
But it's. I think to be honest with you, compared to Mindy, Mindy seems like a pair. It's one of those things where like, you know, his perfect match is not Marge. It's Mindy. But he loves
Mm.
Marge and he has a commitment to Marge. So that's that. When we talk about that when that comes. But with this, it's more just, you know, circumstance. I think she just needed that connection. And then we see what happens to her later on when she's rejected. She goes into rehab and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of destroys her life, you know. It's like Doki Doki Literature Club. When
Oh,
you know, literally.
Just gotta
We're
pull
gonna
that
have a
one
new
out
Just
of the
panel.
Lurleen.
It's just gonna be everything is Doki.
Everything is Doki.
Every time we do like an actual live event, that just Monica thing will pop up in between
Yeah,
slides.
just Monica.
Just Monica, no matter what the reference is.
But you know the thing is, I actually I would have gone for Monica given the choice.
Fair. You know,
Yeah.
she wasn't
Yeah,
a
she
bad
can
option.
organize creative events. That's a rare trait.
To be fair, you know, she didn't have to. If she just believed in herself more, she would have been fine. That was all. She didn't have to. She didn't have to be psycho and a crazy hacker. She's
You
fine.
just gotta
You
believe.
just gotta believe in yourself. You know, be confident. You're fine.
I'm like, if you could write the game's code, why don't you write yourself some goddamn dialogue options?
Yeah.
Come
Write
on,
yourself-
Monica.
Write yourself some personality. Like and
No,
you'll be
because she's not giving you choice.
fine. Okay, one thing I did like, you know, to go back, right, and I didn't talk about it because we kind of rushed over, and you know, we're doing a bit of overtime, so we'll finish this out. In the episode where Mr. Lisa goes to Washington, right? It's very season 2, even season 1, right? But it has some really good moments. I really enjoyed The Simpsons in Washington D.C. This is their first real trip away, like outside of Springfield.
Yeah.
Well, I know they went to capital city and that, but this is like a real trip away, right?
Yeah,
And
to a
they-
real place that exists.
Exactly, yeah. And they didn't ham it up. You know, it was all kind of like, yeah, it's funny, but it's still used in the right way. My
Yeah.
question to the team here is, guys, do you think this is the right way to use situational comedy, or do you prefer the more kind of outlandish stuff that happens when you go to Ireland or Australia or something like that?
Oh God, don't get me started talking about Ireland. I think
Yeah,
let's
not go there.
Okay, let's not go there. We won't
Let's
go there.
not go
Oh,
there.
yeah,
think the
Australia,
way-
for example.
I don't know. Sorry, Kev, you go first.
Yeah,
Well,
Kev.
I think it's Washington's kind of particular because it relies so heavily on the jokes being about the American political system because it's capital.
Mm.
So
Mm.
you can kind of like that's a very kind of specific case in that point. I
Right.
suppose I would prefer this sort of comedy for these sorts of situations than rather than relying on stereotypes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. What do you think, Brent?
yeah.
I can't hear you.
Yeah,
Vito.
but it's kind of about I suppose it'd be about
It's
finding that
they're all color coded, and that's not a nice joke.
Yeah.
The joke is the place they go to is weird. In
Yeah.
the Washington one, the joke is they go to somewhere that's normal, and the Simpsons are weird. Bark, get out of the spirit of St. Louis. I think that's the subtle different, or Homer yelling at the IRS, like.
Well, to be fair,
Well, that's actually, I was about to say, like, Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington, it's probably one of my least favorite episodes, but it has my favorite moment in that, you know, they drive past the IRS and Homer goes, boo!
Oh, boo yourself.
Or
To be fair though,
Mr.
every
Governor,
time,
there's a little girl that's lost her faith in democracy. My God!
Good Lord!
can I just say, every time I pass the tax office, I boo the tax office. So
That's fair. That is
They're
fair.
on someone's watch list.
taxation is theft, folks. Taxation is theft.
Oh, boo yourself there.
The what?
You go back going, oh, boo yourself.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, no, it's like I love the whole point where like Lisa's. It's one of the strongest character moments from Lisa, and while it's not a great episode, she's not a shrill know-it-all in this. Like she actually is just, you know, she's trying to win the contest. She writes a good essay, and her whole worldview is completely shattered. But the fact it's built back up, and she gets, you know, your man starts singing the song at the end of it. It's brilliant. You know, it's a very feel good episode without leaning too
Yeah,
heavy
and I
into
think
it,
if that episode came out today, Lisa would have won the competition. I'm glad she didn't, but still got her little victory.
Well,
you
see,
know.
that's the message behind it, is that you can do the right thing and be the better person, but it's in the end, it's not going to make you popular.
No.
And that's the whole message behind it. It's like, you don't want to be the most popular. You don't want to be the person who wins. You want to be the person who calls out injustice.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
And that's
also,
who Lisa is, really.
well, Keane,
Yeah.
if they did it today and Lisa won the contest, you'd lose one of the really funny last jokes of the whole episode, where Homer shouts, "Give her the check."
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's
No, I'm not saying that'd be a better idea. I'm just saying,
No, I
like,
know. I'm just saying,
Simpsons
like,
has more edge early on, you know.
exactly, and that's my point. Like, that's a more realistic thing, because that's what someone would actually shout out. You know, it's like, you know, compared to the Simpsons, where now actually Super Eye Patch Wolf made a similar critique of the joke much later on, when Bart's bike is overrun by
Oh,
the
yeah, it's like breaking it down into five
break it down
pieces.
into five
Yeah, yeah.
pieces, and then he does an example where Homer is at an airport and is, you know, if he's called fat or something, and he runs over and he's like, "Oh, you know, it's me," or whatever, compared to the way it would have been written. And it's like, this is
Yeah,
the
could all fat people get on the plane? That's
Exactly.
me, like, you know.
Exactly. And I think if, like, as you said, if this was done today, one, the criticism would be not as ubiquitous. Like, everyone gets it here. You know, it goes after the whole system rather than X, Y, and Z. I think now it would be very much skewed one way, and it also wouldn't be as tight, and it wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like, Lisa would be a shrill. She'd be complaining at everybody, and it's just,
Yeah.
you know, nobody wants that, in my opinion.
Before we wrap, can we just say that the episode where Homer's brother come back is
Yes.
excellent. They never play it on TV, and it's held up so well.
It's one of those episodes that I forgot, and when it came up at the end of this, I was like, I'm so glad I actually stuck it on and watched the whole rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like, you guys love this. You guys love Hunky Herb. So
Yeah.
what do you guys think?
It's the
I
Burns
forgot to
Annual
watch it.
Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence.
Exactly.
It's just like it's just one of those, like, it's just one of those episodes that, like, I think it was I remember always seeing it before I'd ever seen the first Donkey Herb episode. So it's who is this guy that they all seem to know?
Why is Danny DeVito here?
And
You
like, I think that, again, it's just like another. I think that, like, in this season, there's like not one bad story in the bunch, and it's
No.
probably stronger stories to end up on, where it's the whole thing of, like, basically her putting an incredible amount of genius towards making a baby translator, and and like him losing Monopoly is brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm
And
surprised.
like, and even sorry, you go first
Sorry,
there.
so I was going to say, I can't believe that doesn't exist. Why doesn't that exist yet?
Yeah, I know.
I
know,
would kill for that machine.
Get on it, Elon Musk. Come on.
Twisted Doodles is
No,
does a
that
pretty
man
good
has to
graph
do
of baby faces, but that's the closest I could find.
Yeah,
After
like
what that man named his child, he needs to do. He has to do nothing with them anymore. He's done. He's out.
fair.
Well, I know. I think Musk is kind of he's kind of busy at the minute because isn't he doing a movie in space with Tom Cruise?
His girlfriend just had a baby, so I think he's has a handful there as well. Anyway, but like now's the good time to do it. He has a baby. He has like full on. You know, we have to figure it out. So yeah, we're gonna say it now. We'll have a baby translator thanks to Elon Musk by the time his baby's 2. Watch.
If he doesn't shoot it into space.
If he doesn't, or himself in space, which is probably more realistic as well at some point. Sorry, Keith, go for it.
Professor Frank with his baby in the plane at the expo.
My wife is going
No,
to
actually,
kill me.
it's got this episode has one of those bits. That's it. Yeah, this episode is one of those bits I remembered vividly, but didn't know where it was from. Which is Homer getting obsessed with a little bird dunking in the water.
Oh,
It's drinking the water. It's $1 million invention.
And that comes back to help him when he's working from home.
Yeah.
That's
right,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. See, that's continuity.
Oh yeah, like that's why I think your theory is correct, guys. Everything here happened. This is not wild. Everything here happened. It all kind of makes sense in some kind of way. Only when we start getting much later on, you know, and we will touch on that, but there's so much continuity here that it really lets credence that this is like year 2 of The Simpsons.
and they have still not.
Yeah,
aged.
I mean, like we said
fair
earlier,
point,
they
fair
make
point.
reference to Homer being safety inspector for 2 years.
Yeah, and it's like Katie said, you have an age, but we do experience some birthdays. Like Lisa has a birthday.
Yeah, but even later on in the show, you know, when there's an episode where Grandpa says something about what happened. Homer bowled a perfect game, and Marge goes, "That was 1.5 years ago," but they're all still the same age.
Yeah, that's weird. But again, I think.
Oh yeah, but it happens in weirder ways as well, though. Like, you know, they make jokes about the 90s as if they weren't around in the 90s, and like, you know, Lisa was born in 1983, and then obviously they kind of like. I mean, I don't know. I wish they just make a decision on whether time doesn't exist or does, but I don't like that inconsistency later on. Like,
Well, that's why I'm saying I just want to follow this down until we get to the coma, because that's
Dara's
when.
down the rabbit hole now,
Yeah.
guys.
yeah.
Like I already have this. This is in my notes, so it's gonna be brought up. Like
Let it be said, Dara has notes.
I have notes.
Dara's got plans.
We will uncover this conspiracy, I promise. Yeah, guys. But overall thoughts. What would you give this season out of 10? Is it high up there or?
Oh, like a solid 8 at least. Like
Okay.
it's great. This is when it really started hitting its stride.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 9 only that I know there are better series to come, and that's the best compliment you can give.
Yeah.
Right. Bryn.
So yeah, I say an 8 is fair.
8.5 maybe, if I'm feeling generous.
Okay.
Just because there is more to come here.
Right.
Oh god, I'm really nervous. If we're starting a Simpsons rating, I'm really nervous where like season 15 is going to be on that.
Well, I think we're only going to 12.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thank God.
We'll
We're
see.
not doing this is not going to be a 2-year-long podcasting.
No.
I don't know if lockdown lasts. Like, I mean, who knows?
If
We might
lockdown
need
lasts
it.
2 years, Jesus.
I still think I need to talk about other things.
Yeah. Otherwise, all of our lives will just become The Simpsons, and there will be
We'll
nothing
slowly
else.
turn
else.
yellow, lose a finger.
Simpsons is eternal.
Exactly. Yeah, like we'll see where this goes, you know, and you know we still have to. I'm still pushing for Sleepaway Camp, guys, as a watch along. Yeah,
Tell us.
Oh yeah.
Sleepaway Camp is just I think needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, we can always take a break in the middle if it gets to be too much every week. And
Yeah, we'll see. You know, like as I said, this is something that is a nice, handy kind of thing for us. While literally there's nothing else going on because everything is just stopped. So this is the perfect time for us to do this. But yeah, going to season 15, that's okay. That's not torture. 15 to 20. Now there you go. That's torture.
And then there's 30 seasons. So like, are we really gonna do 30?
We're going to start swamping through the muck of 20 to 30.
Yeah,
I
no.
think this should be like our slow news week thing.
If we were to do that, I think we'd have to like watch those 10 seasons, not do every week, come back about it like a month or two later and just be like, here's what this 10 season block was like.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not good.
That's a good idea.
Not good. That's the truth of it. But Katie, what would your rate be beaten for this?
Yeah, I would probably agree with the guys and say somewhere around the 8.5, 9, because while it feels like it's starting to be The Simpsons, it's still not quite there yet.
Right. Yeah,
And
I would agree.
there's a lot better that's gonna happen down the line.
Yeah, I think 8.5 is probably like the fairest rating to give this there. Who want to get in there, sorry?
Right. The one thing I'd also add on to this is that like even just trying to whittle it down to like a top 5, it's starting to get to the point where it's like taking on the jazz excuse of going what really matters is the ones that aren't actually in the list now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when I was doing I found like doing season 2 was a struggle. This was
Yeah.
legitimately difficult. Even just getting it into a top 10 was hard, and
Yeah.
then trying to go. These are the ones that really are my favorites,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's becoming like less definitive and a lot more subjective over what makes the top 5 and what doesn't.
I think when it comes to The Simpsons as well, it's harder to do, say, top 5 or top 10 episodes. It's more because it's more moments. Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's like
It's moments,
it's like
yeah.
this is a great episode, but then this episode had some really good moments, but so did this one.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, so
Like-
it's
like
more
Like
down
this
to what's
this one joke in this one episode that was a weak episode is better than any joke in the season.
Like, for
Yeah.
example, like Radio Bart, for example, that isn't like one of my favorite episodes, but it has my favorite Homer background ever
Yeah.
yeah.
in it, and it's just there, like, you know. So Katie, you're spot on. Like, I would say it'd be unfair for us to say to go. That's why you didn't ask what's your favorite episode in this, because that's impossible,
Yeah.
and it's going to become more impossible until it doesn't. And then you're like, which one is good? You know,
Until
be
it's
fair.
like a season with one good episode and we all agree
and we all
unanimously.
agree. Exactly,
One.
exactly.
No, I think
So-
this one though, Crystal, like I could definitely point to Homer at bat. Like that's a personal on mine. I love that episode.
yeah.
So bits.
And it's just the way, like, it's even from a writing perspective, they managed to give all 8 of these celebrities that I have nothing to do with a character arc of sorts within the
Yeah.
last 10 minutes. That's
Yeah.
excellent. Like, I love the
And-
guy falling through the center of the earth and the brain tonic and the
Like
guy
your
from
And the
The
sideburns.
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 The
Sideburns,
sideburns is
cooking
amazing.
like a chicken.
Just sorry, Mr. Burns.
Lord
I don't
Palmerston.
think
It's the elder.
Lord Palmerston. And he hits Mo as well.
And then just the musical piece at the end, just
Oh,
to really
brilliant.
cherry on top that
Yeah.
I have not gotten out of my head for 20 years.
We're
Daryl,
talking
Daryl.
softball.
Maine to San Diego, talking softball.
It's so good. It's so
King
good.
Griffey with his grotesquely swollen jaw.
He sex and is running with the law.
We're
talking
Homer.
Ozzy
Ozzy
and
and the straw.
Also, I think, believe it or not, that well, it is. I just looked it up there. It's the highest rated of the season as well, at
okay.
8.7 in review. So
Yeah, Smithers going recruiting them is just gold.
So good.
it's a pay cut,
Again,
but okay.
like that part where Kia mentioned earlier, where Mr. Burns pulls out the 100-year-old baseball thing. We'll have all these all-stars. Like most of them are dead. One of which has been dead for 100 years.
Would appreciate it. If I made a video of it, it would have been my virtual background for this week, and it would have been Homer in super slow mo.
Oh no.
See, we were
Oh
all,
god, when he starts scratching himself and Marge is like, tell me when he's gonna look away. He's like, we'll tell you.
we'll tell you, Dad. It's
My
like
sister let me borrow her one leg.
no, I love the whole build up to the Wonder Bat, and then it instantly just gets destroyed, and he's like, "Oh no!"
It doesn't it survives until Daryl Strawberry turns up, I think.
Yeah, it does, and he pitches, and it goes right through, and it's
Yeah.
Daryl.
Daryl.
it's like it's okay, Mom. It's professional athletes. This goes right off
Just
them, and he
cry.
just starts crying.
And just Millhouse recruiting all of them for the Little League game. I'll take
I take
Ralph.
Jose
I'll take
Canseco.
Ken Griffey Jr.
You got yourself a player.
It's brilliant.
Just every single. But I find it funny about how like I think it was last season where Dancing Homer, very baseball heavy episode. I didn't like it because it was a lot of baseball humor.
Same.
The next season it's another baseball episode. It's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's
Yeah,
the thing.
just
Like, or I will
Heightened
say,
and sharpened.
but on that point, right? We all probably loved that as kids, right? And we had no, as you said, we had no idea who these people were, but we all loved it because it was a great episode. Like, again, I didn't even know they were real people as a child until I asked my dad, and he goes, "Yeah, they're real people." I'm like, "Oh, fair enough." And then I just never thought about it, until I watched it again. But that's that kind of thing, I would say this is probably the best use of guest stars in The Simpsons.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think either this way or like with Unky Herb, give them an actual
give them
character.
character.
Those are
That's
those
right.
are the
Yeah.
two best ways. Like,
And
That's fair.
it's not them being there for the sake of being there.
yeah,
It's not like,
Kent
look at
Brockman
this
next to Britney
celebrity we
Spears.
got.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got the baseball players, or you've got Sideshow Bob.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
sorry,
see-
Bob.
well, see-
Jesus. Yeah,
well, see,
of course. Yeah.
I see. What I mean is, I'll clarify a bit. I wouldn't count Kelsey Grammer as a guest star. He's Sideshow Bob,
Yeah.
right? What
Yeah.
I mean is, like, people coming in and they're just themselves. But
Yeah.
like, I suppose the monorail one is probably the second best way, where Leonard Nimoy shows up and it's like, actually,
That's just because it's Nimoy.
yeah. Look, we're getting into a bit of, but I would say as a rule,
Yeah, but I think you've hit on the nail of the head there. It's like it shouldn't be the celebrity is there as the joke, and then everyone loves the celebrity. Like with Leonard Nimoy,
You
he
get the celebrity,
specifically
you make
didn't
them
know
do
who he
something
is.
ridiculous.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Weren't
And-
you one of the little rascals?
I really want to swap seats.
But I mean, even with like when they bring Barry White into the show, there's a reason.
yeah,
You know
he's
what I
not
mean?
just there.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
just there. It's like he is the whole plot point of getting the snakes into the house because
Yeah.
he's got a really bassy voice. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just like, oh look, it's Barry White.
Yeah.
Everybody say hi or whatever.
Again, the worst example is you can see where Lady Gaga shows up, and it's literally just Lady Gaga.
That's
just-
the that's the low point.
That's
isn't
the
it?
one
Yeah.
that
That's the
I'm
low point.
always referencing, and
Yeah.
I hate having to actually say like the Lady Gaga one because I genuinely I love Lady Gaga. I think
Oh
she's
yeah,
great.
yeah, she is.
But-
Yeah, but
She's literally in that episode to be in that to be like, hi, I'm Lady Gaga. Everybody look at me.
Yeah.
there's even a worse example of it again. At least she's there in it when Blink 182 show up. It's literally,
Yeah.
oh look, it's Blink 182, and they don't even look like Blink 182.
Yeah.
Like Travis doesn't even look like it's some random dude. And it's like, this is even
Oh,
worse. Like,
I
this is
remember-
crazy.
Tony Hawk.
being-
I
I
Tony
remember
Hawk,
being
yeah.
so bummed out because I remember hearing that, but I think it was before it released, that Metallica was going to be in an episode. I was like, oh, awesome, that's so cool.
They show up and
They
play Master
show up,
Puppets. and
they're in
that's
a
it.
truck.
I'm
That's
still
it.
wondering because I remember hearing years ago that they were going to do an episode with Fallout Boy, you know, just because of the
the
ties
name.
to the Simpsons. I don't know if they ever did it. I can't say for a fact if they did or not because I haven't watched any of the newer episodes. But I'm wondering how that would have played out.
Probably the same way.
Yeah,
Fallout
I mean,
Boy's great.
maybe they would have could they have done like a Radioactive Man thing or I don't know.
Oh, maybe he's singing the song for the Radioactive Man movie, that kind of thing.
I don't know how
I
they
don't
would
know.
have done
He
that.
did for the
If it's
Ghostbusters movie.
somewhere it's in the 20 to 30 swamp and we're not digging.
I think I know it's jumping ahead, but the Hullapalooza is also a very good use of celebrities, like because they
Yeah.
all feel like characters.
And we will get
Like, you
there.
know,
And
you
we
can
will-
laugh at Cypress Hill and not know who they are, like, you know.
and we will get there. But like, I think Homer at bat is our kind of standard bearer.
Our
for this
lock-in
one.
of the week.
It's their
yeah,
it's their
this
shoe
is
shoeing of the week.
yeah.
Big shoe.
Homer at the bat is going to be kind of the control for when they bring in celebrities from now on.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
agree with
yeah,
that. That's perfect for me. But guys,
Mm.
we have done half an hour of overtime, so wow, I think this is the longest show that we've done
Goodness.
in this network. So fair play.
Stevie said it'd be 2 hours. I'm like, oh no, it'll be a short one tonight, and here we are.
Here we are. It's just
Never
the way.
question Stevie. Never, never ever.
To be fair,
Yeah.
anytime
See,
Stevie
it's like I'm Bart. I have to learn the lesson every week.
Keen, anytime she gives you like a time, she's usually bang on. Like she's just,
Yeah.
it's spot on.
I've stopped betting with her because she always wins.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But guys, before we wrap up, this has been a lot of fun. This was a really good topic. I really enjoyed this. And what are we plugging? There's we're going to actually be plugging things. So what
I
are we
know,
gonna-
yeah. So the Game Corner with me and Katie, that'll be coming out either late this week or early next week, depending on when Keith Burns' art is ready. And we're looking forward to that going out. I've also got a new Nerding with Children article on Geek Ireland coming out this week. I'm going to
Ooh.
revive those because they're good crack while we're looking for things to do. This one's going to be around theme songs she dances to.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Little tip, she loves Led Zeppelin from the Thor Ragnarok. I know that make you angry, Dara.
It doesn't. No, hold on. Thor.
Grim can never make anyone angry.
Yeah, look, and
Yeah.
there was Star Wars news, and I didn't talk about it because that'd be the only thing I talk about. So we might talk.
That's true. Oh, I see. I was wondering why you didn't bring that up. Off the air, I want to ask you how you thought of the Clone Wars finale.
Oh,
But
sure.
Katie, any news to plug?
Just the normal stuff. Instagram at mannequin_blue, and I'm also in the process of working on my own show, which I literally just came up with the idea of today. So I'm like, yay, let's do all the things, but it'll probably be a while because I need to do like 13 pages of prep and.
And you need to get pictures of Spider-Man.
I need pictures of Spider-Man.
That's
yeah,
the
but
main thing.
It's so I'm thinking of doing something more to do with like artists and performers and just highlight the cool stuff that they're doing. So if you guys know any artists or performers or you want to be on it yourself, that'd be great. We'll do it. It's probably going to be a short one. It'll probably be like a half-hour one, like the gaming one.
nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com if you want to get in contact for that, or Twitter or Instagram or anything like that. Reach out because yeah, that's pretty cool. Like anyone, I think that's a great idea. Anyone who wants to get involved and plug their stuff, yeah, get in touch with Katie. She's the person for it. Kevin, is there anything you want to plug, sir?
Not quite yet. As Kian mentioned earlier, there's something anime related in the works. Whenever I get the motivation for it. But right now, I'm on Twitter at KevTalika94. I've been just like it's been exclusively Tifa X Aerith fan art because that's my ship at Century.
Ooh, I'm going there now.
Oh dear.
On Twitter or Instagram?
On Twitter.
Thank you.
Bryn?
Yeah, so I also have a show that's going to be dropping at some point in the next, I want to say 2 weeks. I'm going to be recording a pilot pretty soon for it. It's going to be basically like a technology news digest. The name of it's going to be Tech Takeover.
Ooh.
I like it.
Out sooner rather than later, I hope, if I could get time to record. Yeah, but in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter when I rarely tweet at cats. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
All right, and guys, go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com. It's completely redone. I keep fiddling with it and redesigning it, so it's constantly updating. But when the schedule kind of gets sorted out, their schedule will be there, and you'll be able to get everything. But best place to reach is nerdtoknowmedia at gmail.com and Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for joining us. And guys, I will talk to you next week. And the guys here will talk to you in their own shows when they come out. So until next week, guys, bye.
Bye.
Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.